Hello there. What is going on, everyone? We're talking about the rule of two in today's video. Now, it's not just the rule of two as it applies to Star Wars lore. Always two there are. No more, no less. A master and an apprentice. But no, we are talking about the rule of two as it also applies to tabletop gaming and card gaming, miniatures gaming, war gaming, gaming in general, as an approach to casual or competitive gaming. And this is also a follow-up to a video I did a couple of weeks ago talking about Highlander or Singleton, or basically the concept of no duplicates. And I'm going to touch on both of those because I think this is the natural evolution of that, and where I feel like this philosophy comes in, and the advantages that it can give if you're having some thoughts and brainstorming on how to build your next deck or list or army or whatever game you're playing, how to approach the turn zero and the construction and the building portion of that game. I'm going to use a lot of Star Wars games for examples, but I want to point out that this can apply to Magic the Gathering, this can apply to Pokemon, this can apply to Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40k, as well as games like Star Wars Legion, X-Wing, Armada, and in different games that we're going to cover. The rule of two is that natural progression. So if you guys are new here to the channel, I do want to remind you to stick around. Look, we're trying to grow the channel. Every subscriber counts. I would love to have you guys. Most of my viewers are not subscribed, so make sure you're subscribed. Press that button. You'll be informed as new videos come out. I do videos for a lot of different games, and so you might not want to miss that. You can also click that bell for alerts. Plus, we are still doing that $50 Amazon gift card giveaway that is running through the end of the month. There is still just a little bit of time left to enter to win that, but if you don't win, don't worry, because we do giveaways all the time. If you want to have a chance to enter to win, you just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. So if you're already subscribed, you're already halfway there. Just let me know your thoughts on the rule of two in the comments below. So, the core concepts: no more than two of any given card, miniature, unit, ship, what have you, in your build. So I'm going to talk about armies. I'll talk about building fleets or building armies in this one, but it applies to also deck construction, whether you're playing Star Wars Unlimited, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Lorcana, what have you. But also, Legion and Armada and X-Wing and all of those things. And this is a natural progression of a discussion we had recently where it was Singleton, Highlander. You can only run one of anything. And I talked about the pros and cons of that, but this is that natural evolution. So I feel like it can be a sweet spot for versatility without having quite so many rules to remember. Now, versatility, what I mean by that is, sure, if you're running only one of anything, you're going to be spread out. Your army's going to have a lot of different things, and maybe you can have a lot of different answers for a lot of different types of opponents that you're going to face, whether you want to have a little bit of everything. But having two still gives you a lot of versatility because you're not maxed on any one thing. If you're playing Legion, you're probably not maxed on B1 battle droids, and you're not maxed on droidicas, right? So you still have some flexibility on what you're doing, but if you're at least running two of something, if you're running one of everything, you can have a lot of different rules to remember because you have no duplicates, so everything is totally unique and has its own rules. Some games are a little bit more complex with all of the different rules that apply to everything. I know when I was playing Star Wars Shatterpoint, every single unit that you run has an entirely separate rule set for its card, and so the more different types of stuff you run, the more rules you have to remember, and it can get overwhelming. And so by running two, so kind of doubling up on a lot of your units, now you cut the rules that you have to remember in half. And that can be a very good thing. If you're trying to get relatively new into a game, maybe you don't want to overload yourself on having to memorize all of the different rules for every different ship or every different unit in every different type of tank or what have you in the game. But you also want to branch out a little bit and experience a lot of different things in what maybe your faction or your army has to offer. So it can be a good sweet spot in between those. It also offers sort of a hybrid approach to army building or deck building or competitive play, in that you're not super competitive, but you're also maybe not super casual. I bring up, clone commandos, for example, as one of those things that in Legion, it seems like you've got to max out on them. But you don't really have to max out on them. And matter of fact, running two of a lot of things that are very competitive, when you could run more than two, still gives you a flavor of how good they are without necessarily saying, hey, I have to win at all costs and I care about only winning and I don't care about the fun factor involved, right? And sometimes your list can say that, not necessarily saying that Clone Commandos say that, but some might think that they do. But I think it says a lot to run maybe 2 units of Clone Commandos, because you're saying, hey, I still want to do really well and I want to have synergy, but I don't necessarily want to have a win at all costs approach, especially at the cost of coming off too aggressive. And so it can be kind of a sweet spot in your casual or competitive approach. I think that's a pretty cool thing. Running 2 of something gives you the ability to still have flexibility like I talked about before, but it also gives you the ability to still run synergies. It allows you to still kind of build lists that have tech that are going to work together, and they're not going to be quite so random and spread out. So you can still have tech, you can have upgrades, and you can have ships that kind of bounce off of other things. And if you have 2 of these and then 2 of something else that also work together, you've got multiple options to make that synergy work. You're probably more likely to make that synergy work and to make your cool upgrade tech or combo tech combos more likely to fire off when you have 2 of everything that needs to do them. So that can be a cool thing as well. And that kind of feeds into something else that I want to talk about. If you are running stuff that has multiple ways it can be built, look at snowtroopers as a good example, or a lot of units in Legion. A lot of core units always came with 2 heavies. Now, some of them have more heavies that can go into them, but as a general rule, a lot of units that have a single heavy option will have 2 different heavy options in the box, and they have different ways that they can be built. So maybe I'll use snowtroopers as an example. I want to run the flamethrower. Oh, okay, cool. Well, do I want 2 flamethrowers? I don't know. Maybe I want to have that ion snowtrooper also. And now all of a sudden, I'm still following the rule of 2, but I get to see more of what the snowtroopers are capable of. And I'm able to sort of kind of compare what they're actually doing now, because I'm running flame troopers all the time, perhaps. And then I can see, oh, you know what? The Ion Trooper was actually a little bit more helpful than I thought. And so, or maybe you're brand new, because you've never run Snow Troopers before, and you can run both of them, see what you like, what you don't like. You can do this with, lots of other things outside of just Legion. It works out that way. Like look at Armada. A lot of ships come with 2 different types. Sometimes, like maybe you're playing X-Wing and you're like, you know what, I don't know if I want to give this ship a torpedo, or if I want to save, or if I want to, load up, with different upgrades instead. And, you can basically build an X-Wing 2 different ways, or run 2 different standardized loadouts in X-Wing or something like that, but still limiting yourself to 2 T-65 X-Wings or something along those lines. So again, making your 2 slightly different gives you a different taste of each of the 2, while still kind of fitting into the core concept. Or you can build identical duos. Again, the thing with running identical duos is it does kind of get back into that a little bit more competitive side. It's like, hey, I'm going to take this a little bit more seriously. I'm going to be practicing running, Architans, for example. I want to make sure I get their flight down. I'm going to run 2 of them, so if I succeed with both of them, and the one could have just been a fluke, but if I'm able to make both of them work, then that works out even better for me. Make sure that I'm getting good practice in. It can be a great way to practice and see what you like, what you don't like. Also, again, if you have a build or if you have a unit that has the right upgrades and the right tech that's meshing with the rest of your build, then having another one that's doing the exact same thing is just it's a good thing. It's an extra opportunities for you to make sure that what your whole army or your whole list is designed to do can still do. And that's a pretty cool thing. It also offers forgiveness. Let's say I really need snipers. I really need some covering fire. And I need to make it work. I'm trying to, and I recognize that these, cards are changing and stuff, so I'm just using examples. But if maybe you had something that was really crucial to making the tech of your deck work, and maybe you deploy or you take an early turn and you overextend and you accidentally lose something that was critical to your build. If you lose that on the first turn or too early in the game, it could be agonizing. And if you're running 2 of a critical unit, now all of a sudden you have a backup. I've got a spare. It's going to be okay. I can still make the tech work. I can still try to trigger that combo that I was waiting for. I didn't, if I accidentally lost something important to me on the first round, I've got a backup of it. It's okay. You're less likely to lose both of your critical, your critical components, your critical path units, ships, or what have you, on that, on one bad turn. So it gives you that a little bit of a buffer there, and that can be a cool thing. And my last point for the rule of 2 is that it can also be cost effective for a number of reasons. One of which is sometimes there's 2 of something in a box. A lot of games have done this, and it's a very cool concept. I think it's coming more and more. I think we're going to see more of this. I know if Fantasy Flight had not lost all of these games, that the plan moving forward was for every small ship for X-Wing and Armada to always come to a pack. The Hammerhead Corvettes came 2 to a box, and in a world where retailers have limited shelf space and lots of new games and expansions coming out every week and every month, it's just not feasible to have every individual piece of plastic have its own box for one miniature. Retailers just can't, keep everything on shelves. So it's one of those things that it's a trend in the market, is that you started to see more and more like combo boxes and stuff. And so it can be cost effective on that regard. It's also just cost effective for you because now, like, oh, flavor of the month. Oh, hey, Wookiees just got buffed. I don't have to go out and buy the maximum amount of Wookiees that I could possibly buy if my core philosophy is rule of 2. I personally do this with Warhammer Age of Sigmar. I will max out on 2 of anything, and a lot of the units that I was buying in Age of Sigmar always came with 2 in a box. So like if you're running a 5-man unit of something, they would come with 10. Now Legion kind of is, I expect Legion to do this as well in the future, because they have the whole concept of you can run a basically a double-sized unit, or you could run 2 individual units, and that puts more models in a box. It allows them to charge a little bit more, but usually still saving like per mini because you're kind of buying in bulk. Either way, if you don't have to go out and like max everything, like, oh, I can run 112 B1 battle droids now, I gotta go buy like way more B1 expansions. No, you don't. You keep using the same stuff you already have. Max out on 2 of any given thing, and this way, if it gets nerfed, it's not crippling to your army. If it gets buffed, that's cool, but you don't have to go out and buy max of these things just because they're buffed, because you don't know how long that buff is going to be there for. Sometimes things get, tweaked, and this is now overpowered for like a month or 2 until they nerf it back down again. And so, sticking to the rule of 2 can definitely be cost effective in the long run, because it allows you to play with a lot more stuff, still have some synergy, and not break your wallet trying to build out a min-max type of list. So those are some of my points and the core philosophy of the rule of 2. I think it's a fun way to approach fleet building, squad building, army building, deck building, and in all of your tabletop gaming worlds and universes, and also, Star Wars talked about it too. So it's the rule of 2. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. You can also join our Discord and keep the discussion going there as well. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world and help make this whole channel possible. Thank you so much for your continued support. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. Always wash your socks.